This conference will now be recorded.
Everyone? Okay, right. So today we'll start with smart forms. Right. So what is a smart form? A smart form is basically it's a tool which can be used to design the template of the business documents. Okay, a smart form is a tool used for designing the template of the business documents. Okay, so if you take any business, every business will contain what different business documents. Understood? Every business contains different business documents like inquiry form, quotation form, purchase order form, sales order form, invoice. Okay, all these things are called as what business documents. Or to understand it clearly, if you take a supermarket, okay, so the supermarket will have what bill? A bill will be generated. So every supermarket has got its own bill format. Understood? So to generate the template of those business documents, we use a tool called as what? A smart forms tool. Okay. Another example, suppose every month we'll receive the what? Mobile bill. Okay, in the form of PDFs. Okay, you will get it through email or through copy, whatever it is. Okay, so every bill, suppose assume that we are all Airtel customers, so all of us will receive the bill in what? Same format. Okay, the format of the bill will be what? Same, but the content of the bill would be what? Different. Make clear? Everyone will receive the bill in the same format, but the content of the bill would be different. So to generate the template of those business documents, we use a tool called as what? A smart forms tool. Understood? So what you will do with that business documents, we can take printout. Okay, understood? With the physical copy, right? Which contains what? Some information. So to design the templates, we use a tool called smart forms. So template example, for example, as I told you, assume that we are all Airtel customers. So all of us will receive the bill in what? Same format, but the content of the bill would be what? Different. Suppose assume that this is a what? Some Airtel bill. So here you will have one section where it will show the customer address details. Here it may show the company what? Details. Like here, what is the company? Airtel. So company details will be displayed here. And then every company will have one logo. Okay, so that logo will be displayed here. And then below you may have some bill content, bill details. And then you may have some barcode, some scanned signature, all this. So to design the template of this business documents, we use a tool called as what? A smart forms tool. Understood? So once a template is designed, in order to invoke this particular template, we need to write something called as a driver. So the transaction code for this smart forms is smart forms. The transaction code also is what? Smart forms only. The tool name is smart forms. The transaction code also is what? Smart forms. So by using that smart forms transaction code, we will design the template. So if you observe this template, a template might contain what? N number of windows. All these are called as what? Windows. In each of the window will show what? Some content. That content can be a static content or it can be a dynamic content. That's what the content can be a static content or dynamic content. Dynamic content means in the runtime, we are going to fetch the data from the database tables and then populate that particular data in the window. Or that content can be in the form of image. Every company, as I told you, will contain a logo. So that logo we have to upload it to the SAP system and show that logo in one of the window. So a business document, the template of the business document will contain different windows. Window is the one where we show the content. That content can be in the form of text or it can be in the form of picture. The text can be either a static text content or it can be a dynamic content. Okay, dynamic content means where we fetch the data from the tables and show that content in the window. So let us see how to design this particular template. Okay, so let me start with a simple example. So what I want is, this is the layout I want. So as part of this smart form, I want to take one window. By default, a smart form will contain what? A default window called as main window. Every smart form by default contains a window called as main window. So in that main window, I want to show some text like welcome to smart forms and gens of technologies. In 2 lines, I want to show the content. So this is my requirement. The smart form should display the static text, hard-coded text. Means I'm not going to fetch any data from the tables. Just have to create a smart form. As part of that smart form, we'll have one default window called as main window. In that main window, I'll associate some static text. Okay, so let's see how to design this particular template. So what is the T code I told? Smart forms is a transaction code. So I'll go to smart forms T code. I need to relog in. Yeah, so I'll go to smart forms T code. The transaction code itself is what? Smart forms. Right, so I'll go to smart forms T code. Right, so here you can see it has opened what? A tool called as what? SAP Smart Forms. It is asking form style and text mode. Next 1 week, we'll be seeing all these things. I'll choose what form here. So I want to develop my own smart form. So obviously, the custom objects we would start with what? Z or Y. And with the smart form name is something Z smart form 1. Some text, give the name as what? Z as form 1. Any name you can give it as Z smart form 1 create. Understood? So I'm in which T code now? Smart forms T code. I'm providing the name of the form. I'll click on the create button. Right? So when I click on the create button, yeah, you can see left hand side. Let us understand this hierarchy. Under the form name, you will have what? Global settings and pages and windows. Okay, global settings and pages and windows. Under global settings, we have form attributes, form interface, and global definitions. Okay, so if you see this form attributes, if you double click on the form attributes, right hand side has opened this. So this form attributes contains two tabs. One is general attributes and there is what? Output options. In the general attributes, you will have the admin information, which user has created the smart form, which user has modified the date of creation, the date of modification. All this admin information will be there in the general attributes. If I go to output options, you'll have the page settings. Okay, you'll have the page settings, A4 size, understood? Characters per, these are all called page settings. So form attributes contains what? the admin information of the form, the user who has created, in which package you have saved, and the output options is nothing but what the what page settings kind of. Okay, right. Then we have what form interface. If you double click on the form interface, you can see here we have import, export tables and what exceptions. Import, export tables and exceptions. Somewhere we have seen this import, export tables and exceptions. In the function builder tool, SC37, we have seen these tabs, no? Import, export tables and what? Exceptions. Understood? So basically, a smart form is nothing but a function module. Whenever we create the smart form, whenever we activate the smart form, a function module gets what? Generated. Understood? So basically, a smart form is nothing but a function module. So in the form interface related to smart form, we can deal with parameters. So what are the parameters you want to deal with the smart form? That you'll specify in this import, export tables exceptions. Then we have something called as global definitions. If I double click on global definitions, you'll have different tabs here: global data types, initialization, currency, quantity fields. So this global definitions, I can say it is used for declaring variables in the smart form. As part of the smart form creation, we are going to write some code. So related to that code, I may require some internal tables, types of structure, work areas, variables. All those things, all those global variables will declare as part of what? Global definitions. Okay, then under pages and definitions, okay, so by default you'll have one page. So according to this requirement, how many pages I want to generate? One page. Understood? If you take a business document might contain n number of pages. Depending on the content, depending on the amount of content, the number of pages gets extended. Suppose assume that we are all the Airtel customers. So I may receive the bill in one page, or you may receive the bill in multiple pages. So depending on your transaction data, okay, the the number of pages will what increase. So in this requirement, I want to consider only one page, which should contain one window called as main window, which has to show some static text. So in the pages and windows, you'll have pages information. So if you double click on this is the page here, name of the page and all the options. We'll discuss most of the options. Then under this page only, by default, you'll have what? One window. So what is the purpose of window? What are the content you want to display? That content should be associated as part of what? These windows. By default, you'll have one window called as a main window. If I double click on this, okay, so the window name is by default main. What is the window type here? Main window. We have different types of windows. We'll discuss these types of windows in the coming sessions. By default, what is the window type? Main window. So the content in the main window is capable of extending to what? Multiple pages. That's what I'm trying to show some content in the main window. If that content doesn't fix in one page, okay, depending on the amount of data, the number of pages will automatically get extended. Means this main window can extend, the main window can extend to what? Multiple pages. The main window can extend to multiple pages. So as of now, we require only two lines. These two lines we can accommodate only in one page. So this is the default window, main window. Am I clear? So as of now, my requirement is what? I don't want to write any code, just I want to show some text, right? So under global settings, under the form attributes, right? So form attributes contains what? Admin information like name of the smart form, the description, the user who has created, in which package we have saved it, okay? on which date, time it is created or modified. All this admin information will be available in what form attributes. So what is the name of the smart form? ZS form 1. So it is asking some meaning here, some description. I'll just give some description. Smart form to display what static text. A smart form to display some static text. Right. So, and by default, I am designing this smart form in which language? English. Listen, the smart form is getting designed in what? English. So, what is this English means? Suppose a business document is there. That document have to translate it to what? Multiple languages. Am I clear? So, suppose that same telephone bill, right? So all to all the North Indian customers, I have to send that bill in what? Some Hindi. Okay, for all the suppose I have to send the bill to what? Some people like Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. So the regional language is what? Telugu. So I should be able to translate it to what? That particular language. Actually, these are what? Not national languages. Okay, so this content I can translate into a different national language, English, German, French, like that, not regional language. Okay, if the regional language is supported, yes, we can translate that also. So depending on the customer, that language would be available. Otherwise, generally we'll translate into a different international language, right? So as of now, it is we are designing in what? English. So now what we have to do, we have to show some content. Where to show that content? Under what? Pages and windows. By default, you know what? Main windows. And double click on the main window. What is the window name? Main window. What is the description? Main window. If you want to change the name of the window, you can change. If you want to change the description, you can change. By default, what is the window type here? Main window. So what I told earlier, as part of each window, I can show some content. That content can be in the form of text or it can be in the form of image. In this case, it is only a text. So to associate the text in the window, I have to create the text object. How do I create as part of the windows, we can create different types of objects. Clear? As part of each window, we can create different types of objects. So again, we'll see those objects in the coming sessions. So as of now, I need to create what? A text element. I need to create an object of type text element. Why I am creating the text element? Because I have to show the content. I have to show some text. Whenever you want to show any text, we have to go for a text element. How do you create the text element here? Right click on the main window, create, what is this? Text. Am I clear? Right click on the main window, create what? Text. Right? So I'm right click on the main window, create the text. So we have different types of objects here. As of now, I'm going for text. I'll say create text. You can say text object got created under the main window. It's taking some time to load that particular text object. Yeah, I think there is some issue in my server. The Microsoft Word has got some issue. So I need to use other server. Let me try to connect to the other server. There is some issue here. Okay. I'll try to connect to the other server. So what is the transaction code? Smart forms T code. Okay, I'm going to smart forms transaction code. I'll give a smart form name as something ZS form 1. ZS form 1 is the name of the smart form. It is asking some description. Some description I'll give. So as I told you, form attributes contains admin information. So as of now, I don't want to pass any parameters to the smart form. As I told you, a smart form is nothing but a function model. Whenever we activate the smart form, a function model gets generated. So related to the function model, how do we deal with parameters through import, export, all those things. Okay. So in the form interface, you'll have that import, export, all those things. As of now, I don't want any parameters to be passed to the smart form. Just I want to show some what static text. Some static text I need to show. So that is the reason under pages and windows. By default in the page one, by default you'll have one page. What is the name of the page? Percentage page one. If you want, you can change the name of the page. It's your wish, not compulsory, right? So by default you'll have the main window. So if you want to give a description, you can give the description here. Static text. What is the window type here? Main window. By default, the window type is main window. So I want to show some content. Whenever you want to show any content, I require what? An object of type or text element. Let me try to launch the text element. Let us try to create the text element. How do you create? Right click on this main window, create the text object. Okay, so just select this and say hello. Good. It has opened a Word, MS Word. Basically, it's a word processing tool. It's a word processing tool. So it has opened the text. So what happened here? I created what? One text element. What is the text element name here? Percentage text one. What is the text type here? Text element. So you'll have different types of text type here. We'll be discussing all these things going forward. By default, what is the text type here? Text element. What is the name of this text element? Percentage text one. If you want to change the name, you can change. For my convenience, I'll change the name to T1. It's my wish. Even if you don't change also, no problem. I'll change the name of the text element to T1. Some name I'll give. Okay. If you want to get a description, the description or something text. So that left hand side, the meaningful description will be shown. So what is the name of the text element here? T1. Understood? What is the description I do? Text element. So it has opened me what? A word processing tool. Here I need to associate the content. So instead of typing it here, right? Instead of typing it here, left hand side you can see here, we have one button called text editor. Just open this text editor. Understood? As part of your text element, whenever we create the text element, a word processing tool will open here. In this left hand side, you can see there is a button text editor. Click on this text editor button. Yeah. Okay. So it is trying to open the editor. Again, you'll get this window here. In this window, choose the menu, go to change editor. Choose the menu, go to change editor. It takes one or two examples to understand this environment. Don't try to buy at the navigations. Listen to the recording, practice it once or twice, you'll remember it forever. Okay, so don't try to remember which option you have to click. Refer to the recording once or twice, you'll understand. So choose the menu, go to change editor. Yeah, I should get something like this. Okay, am I clear? I repeat. I'll go back. What I did here, I created the yes, I created the an object of type what? Text element. What is the name I give? T1. It will open something like this by default. So to associate the text, I need to change the editor. Click on the button, text editor here. You may get this word processing tool in the entire screen. Choose the menu, go to change editor. Okay, here I need to associate the text. I need to associate the text. The left hand side you can see here, there is something called as format. What is the format shown here by default? Star. So if you browse here, you have different formats here. Star indicates what a default paragraph. Okay, so I will not disturb this since as of now by default it is star, which is indicating what default paragraph. So I'll just provide some text. I'll give the text as something. What is the text we want? Some static text. Welcome to smart forms. I'll say welcome to smart forms. Here I'll say something. Okay, so I gave some what text here. I don't have save button here. After associating the text, I don't have save button. Just go back. Right? Save your smartphone. Understood? Save your smartphone. And it is asking where you want to save. So already we know if you want to transport, you have to save it in the transportable package. If you are not interested in transportation, let us save it in what? Local object. So I'll save it in the local object. That's it. So the smart form is what? Create. So what is the summary? As part of this smart form, by default, you'll have one page. As part of that page, by default, you'll have one window. That window type is what? Main window. What is the name of the window? The name of the window is also what? Main. The name of the window is what? Main. Window type is what? Main window. Okay. And as part of this main window, I have to associate some text. So to associate the text, I require what? A text element. So I right clicked on the main window. I created the text element. It has proposed on text element. I have changed the name to T1. Not compulsory to change. You can use the existing names as it is. Then how do we show the content here? Click on this button, text editor. You will get a window something like this. You need to switch the editor. Okay, once you get like this, don't type it directly here. Better you go there, go to change editor. By default, the format will get a star here. Let us understand this format later on. What is the text I gave here? Welcome to smartphone gens of text. It's done. Okay, I don't have save button, just click on back. Save your smartphone. I save it in the local object. Check for what? Syntax errors. Okay, check for the syntax errors. Control F2. It is saying that check executed successfully. Activate your smartphone. When I activate the smartphone, it got activated. It is getting activated. Okay, it is activated. Listen, so you can see the layout of the smartphone. In the application toolbar, there is a button called as Form Painter. If I click on this, right, if I it has opened, I can expand like this, right? So this is a layout. It has got one window and a main window. I can reduce the size of this window, all this. That's it. So here there is a page. If you want to reduce the size of the window, you can reduce. Change the percentage. 75%. You can see. Okay, like this, I can control the size, width and height of each window. As of now, I'm having only one window. Later on, we'll see how to work with multiple windows. Again, if I click on Form Painter, it's a toggle button. Okay, done. I have activated my smartphone. So since I adjusted the window width and height, let us reactivate the smartphone. Smartphone is active. Yeah. Any questions so far? Right. So we have created the smartphone. So how do we make use of this smartphone? Right. If it is a report program, what we can do, we can create the transaction code and we can run the T code. Am I clear? If it is a report program, we can create the T code for that report and end users can run that particular T code. If it is a table, we would have generated the table maintenance generator and we have created the T code. Now this is a smart form. So how do we use this smart form? A smart form should be called, from a driver program. From wherever we are calling the smart form, we call that as what? A driver program, or we call it as a print program. Okay, a driver program or print program. Am I clear? So I need to call this particular smart. So how do you call the smart form? It's whenever a smart form is activated successfully, a function module gets generated. On behalf of every smart form we create, a function module gets generated. That function module, we have to call it from your driver. Am I clear? So how do we get that function module name? I have activated the smart form, right? After activating the smart form, as I told you, a function model gets generated. Where to check that function model? Choose the menu, environment, function module name. Choose the menu, environment, function module name. Right? So if I choose this menu, environment, function module name, this is the function module name which got generated on behalf of my smartphone. So let me copy this particular function module name. Control C. Right, so this is my function module name which got generated on behalf of the smartphone. What is the smartphone name? ZS Form 1. Am I clear? I'm in which client? 800 client. Right? I created the what? Right? On activating this particular smartphone, it has generated what? Okay, on activation, it has generated what? A function model. Okay, this is nothing but a function model. This function model, we have to call it in your driver program. What do you mean by driver program? The program from where we call the smartphone. So let us call it. So since it is a function model, we have the provision to test the smartphone here only. Understood? So if I click on the execute button in the smartphone's T code only, if I click on the execute button, you can see it has taken the control to function builder. See 37. This is my generated function model. Execute this. Right? I don't have any parameters to my smartphone now. So obviously there are no parameters you have to pass. They are the default parameters. Understood? If I go back, if I go to the smartphone also, right? In the form interface, you can see in the import section by default, we have some parameters. Export, we have some parameters. Understood? All these parameters are what? Optional. They are the parameters given by what? SAP. So, and all these parameters are what? Optional. So if I execute, it has taken the control to my generated function model. Understood? So if you go to display here, this will contain what? Import parameters. There is nothing but smartphone parameters. So if I execute, yeah, no parameters. I did not pass any parameters because all are optional. If I click on the execute button, yeah, understood. So it has displayed me some printed dialog box. So when you are trying to take the printout of any document, you'll get the printed dialog box. It will ask you the device name, the printer name, the number of pages, all the printer settings. So when you are practicing also, you'll get this particular print dialog box. So what you do is You browse. If I continue, what is the device configured in my system? LP01. So in your system also, you'll have one printer, you'll have one default printer, and that name would be what? LP01. So just select this LP01. Just provide the output device. I gave it as LP01. Click on what? Print. If you have the printer connection, if you click on the print button, whatever the layout you have designed, that layout will be sent for what? Printing. So since we don't have that, I'll click on print preview just to check the output. So I got the page one. Page one, this is my static text. Welcome to smartphone gens. Why it is coming here in this area? I adjusted the window. Listen, if you go back, I adjusted the window width and height, all those things. Here in the smartphone level, if you click on form painter, understood, this is the main window. I'll just select this, I'll put it at the bottom. Whenever I do any changes, you need to reactivate the smartphone. So when I execute this, it is the generated function model, execute. Okay, what is the output device I have to give here? LP0. So just browse here. I'll give the output device is LP0. So when you are practicing in your machines, by default you may get LP0. So if you are getting by default, don't do anything, just click on print preview button. I got the text at the bottom. Is it clear? So this is how we design the smartphone and this is how we test the smartphone. So as a developer, we have the provision to test our smartphone directly from here on. But we are developing it for whose purpose? For end user purpose. So for end user purpose means we need to call that smartphone from your driver program, and for that driver program you have to create the T code so that end user can run the T code. So before I continue, any questions? Okay. So I have designed the smartphone with one default page and contains one window, main window. And we understood that our smartphone doesn't have any parameters, doesn't have any mandatory parameters. All these parameters are provided by SAP by default and all are optional. So keeping this signature in mind, let us call the smartphone. So calling the smartphone is nothing but calling the associated function model. Whenever we activate the smartphone, what happened? The function model got what? Generated. So let us call that particular function model from your driver program. So I'll go to SC38. I'll give the name of the driver program as Z call as form1. Any name you can give. I'll give it as Z call as form1 create. When the type of program is obviously what? Executable program. Let us save it in the local. Right, so I need to call the smartphone. Calling the smartphone is nothing but just calling a function model. So already we know before we call any function model, we have to check the signature of the function model to understand what are the import parameters, export parameters, optional parameters, mandatory parameters, the type of parameters. Blindly, we will not call the function. We have to check the signature of the smartphone function model also. So here also, our smartphone doesn't have any parameters, doesn't have any mandatory. So this is my generated function model. Let us call it. Okay, Control C. So see here, since it is a function model, I can make use of pattern. I'll go to pattern, call function. This is the generated function model. So in my system, this is the name of the function model. Continue. Done. Call function. Already we know import becomes export, export becomes import, changing remains changing, tables remains tables. Okay. So this function model, all these are optional here, and you not pass it. These are all optional exceptions. Acha. Your smart form function model, has got some exception. They are the four exceptions it may raise. So whenever we call any function model, it is recommended to handle the exception. So what I'll do here, just remove this optional parameters. Under exception section, it is proposing what 5 exceptions. I'll uncomment it. Here it will show only 4. It will show only 4, but you'll have one default exception called as what others. Okay, so what is the meaning of 1, 2, 3, 4 here? SAP is saying that if this exception is raised, it will set the size of RC value to 1. If this exception is raised, it will set the size of RC value to 2. If this exception, 3. If some other exception which we cannot predict, it is indicated by what others keyword. At that time, size of RC is set to what 5. If no exception is raised, if the function model is successfully called, size of RC will remain what 0. So here I'll give period here and handle the exception. How do I handle the exception here? You have to check the size of RC value. Handle the case, or I can use if statement. Case size of RC. When one gives a meaningful message, whatever you want, I'll give just as it is. What is that? Formatting underscore error exception raised. Information message. When to. Okay, I'll just give some message. What is that? Internal underscore error x. Whatever message you want to flash, you flash it. Okay, this is how you handle the exceptions while calling the function. The third exception, send underscore error exception raised. Okay, when for some meaningful message. Okay, when 5. Understood? If this, if none of the exceptions raised, if some other exception raised, that is indicated by what others keyword. So when 5, I'll just give the message unknown exception. So this is how we handle the exceptions whenever we call any function model. When I'm calling that smart form function model, if anything went wrong, it might raise this exception. At that time, it is going to set the size of our values. By default, what is the proposal? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need not stick to this 1, 2, 3, 4. If I change it to 29 here, we are informing SAP that whenever this exception is raised, set the size of RC value to 29. So here also you compare with 29. That's it. By default, it will propose evidences 1, 2, 3. If you want to stick to that, you can stick to it. That's all. Save it, check for the syntax, activate. Okay. So this is called as driver program. Wherever we are calling the spot form, that program we call it as driver program or print program. So see now, when I execute this report program, I got the same print dialog box. What is the output device I have to give? LP01. In my case, in your case also it might be same. Click on the print preview button. I got the preview of the output. That's it. Now, if you want, we can create the T code for this particular report program. Already we know how to create the report, how to create the T code for the report program. Where do we create the T codes? SC93. That's it. If you go to SC93, I'll give the name as something ZSF1. The name of the T code I'll give ZSF1. Create short text. Some meaningful description. What is the radio button you have to choose? Program and selection screen. Because it is a report program only enough, so you have to choose that program and selection screen. Continue. Yeah, it is asking the name of the program. What is the name of the program? Z call S form 1. Z call S form 1. Okay. Selection screen number is always 1000. In case if your report program is having any selection screen, that selection screen number is always what? 1000. In our case, our program doesn't have any selection screen. Then also we are give a selection screen number as a 1000 and select these check boxes. And select these check boxes. That's all. Save it. So what is the transaction code I created for my report program? ZSF1. So when I run the T code, Z end user will run the T codes. If we run the T code ZSF1, I got the print dialog box. I'll give my configured output device here. In my case, it is LP01. Print the preview. I got the result. Listen. So this is how we call the smart form from the driver. You have to collect the smart form function model and you have to call that particular function model. Any questions?
Sir, for every smart form we have same exceptions.
We need not worry about that. Just call the pattern. I'll get the list of exception. So we should not buy on this. Okay, depending upon as of now, every smart form will have the same exception. If you want, we can provide our own exceptions also. I can go to this exceptions tab. I can provide my own exception. But what are the list I'm saying? These exceptions will be common for any smart form reader. But if you want to raise your own exception, I can declare the exception also. Okay, so our job is we should not worry why the exception is. We should bother about handling the exception. How to handle the exception like this. When I call the function model, you have to give the list of that exception. By default, the size servers will be 1, 2, 3 sequence. And you have to handle the exception means you have to just keep, in my case, in this case, I'm not getting any exception. So what is the meaning? The function model is successfully executed. So what is the meaning? Size of RC will remain what? 0. In case if any problem is there in what? Calling the smart form function model, it might raise a exception. Suppose if I execute this, okay, I'll give what? Something. Okay, I'll click on print preview. Okay, I got some error here. Device G does not exist. Understood? I'll give what? LP 0. I didn't got any exception. I got the output is what? My function was successfully executed. We don't know when this exception is, we cannot control that. Our job is to just handle the exception. Not only this, any standard function models we call, you may have the what exception. Suppose if I go to SC37, I'll go to a function model like something F4 underscore file name. Of the what standard function model. If I display, you have the exceptions here. I don't have any exception in this case. In this function model, I don't have. Open a function model like open underscore form. Right? If I go to exceptions, yes, here I am having the exception. So if this exception is raised, size of RC is set to 1. If this exception is size of RC is set to 2. So every function model will have different exceptions. But if you take smart form function models, yes, all the smart form function models will have these 4 exceptions in this version. Version to version, it might be different. Yeah, any other questions? Right? So as a developer, what you have to do? We have to design the smart form in the smart form transaction code. And for every smart form we design, we need to create what? A print program, or we call it as driver program. What logic you'll write inside that? You have to call the smart form function module by passing the necessary parameters. As of now, in this case, I don't have any parameters. I have not defined any user defined parameters here. These are all standard parameters. All these parameters are not optional. Okay. So this is how you will call the smart form function model. Any other questions? But this is not the recommended way of calling the smart form. So what you are doing in the driver program, we are directly calling the smart form function model. So we are hard coding the smart form function model. This smart form function model got generated on behalf of this smart form when I activated that in which client? 800 client. So assume this is your development client. Development client. Am I clear? So already we know we have quality and production client. So assume that we have another client like 810 client. This is your quality system. Okay. So you might have transported the smart form. Okay. So when I might have transported the smart form, and I'll also transport this particular program. If I run this program, understood? This function model got generated dynamically. No? It is not available by default. It got generated dynamically when we have activated that particular smart form in which client? 800 client. Understood? So this smart form will not be available in what? Other system. No? It will not be available in the quality system. So when I run this particular program, in another next configured system, you'll get the runtime error because this function model is not available in the target client. This function model got generated in the source client whenever I activate the smart form. So this is one way of calling, but this is not recommended. Case one, calling what? Smart form function model directly. This is not recommended. Why it is not recommended? When I transport this program to the target system, when I execute this program in the target system, it will check for this particular function model in that system. But this got generated in which client? 800 client. Na? So it will give a runtime error saying that so and so is not available. That is why while calling the smart form, it is recommended not to directly call the smart form function model. So what is the recommended solution for calling the smart form is we have a function model. Okay, if you go to function builder SC37, we have a function model SSF underscore function underscore module underscore what name. XSF underscore function underscore module underscore name. What this function model will do, it will take, if you before calling any function model, what you have to do, you have to check the signature. Na? So if you take this function model, in the import section, there is one mandatory parameter. This here optional checkbox is not selected. Na? Not selected means what? It is mandatory parameter, compulsory parameter. Okay, so what it is expecting? Form name. It is expecting the smart form name. It is of type what? TDSF name. What is this TDSF name? If I double click, TDSF name is a data element. What is the data type? Character of what? 30. So this parameter is expecting a character value. Na? What it is expecting? The smart form name. So already we know import while calling becomes export. Na? So if I export the smart form name, okay, if you see the export section, it is returning the name of the function model. If you pass the smart form name, it will return the name of the smart form function model name, which is the what type? RS38L underscore F name. What is this RS38L underscore F name? If you double click, RS38L underscore F name is a data element which is going to hold what? Name of the function model. This data element is associated with the domain which is character of 30. Means function module name will not exceed more than 30 characters. So what is the signature of this function module? Actually, export parameters are always optional. If you are interested, we can import, otherwise we can ignore. In this case, I need to import so that I can call it. Okay, so changing, I don't do anything. Tables, I don't do anything. Exceptions, it might raise these two exceptions. Our job is only to handle the exception. So what is the signature of the smartphone? What is the signature of this function model? It takes a smart form name as input and returns the associated function model of type what? rs38l underscore f name. So what I'll do here, I'll declare one variable v underscore f name rs38l underscore f name. Why I declare this variable? Because it is going to return me the smart form function module name, which is a what type. So I can give character of 30, but instead of hard coding, I can refer to this data element so that in case if the properties of this is changed, I need not modify my program. If I give it as v underscore f name of 20 type C, in future if it is changed to 30, here also I have to change to 30. Na? That's why I'm not hard coding the data type. I'm referring to the return type directly. So what you have to do now? You have to what? Get the smartphone function module name dynamically. How do you get the smartphone function module name dynamically? Call that function module. What is that? SSF underscore function underscore module underscore what? Name. SSF underscore function underscore module underscore name. Right. So import becomes export now. So in the export, we have one mandatory parameter form name. What is the name of the form? ZS form one. You have to give it in single quotes in uppercase. The other two parameters are optional now. Make clear. The other two parameters are optional. Here these two are what? Optional. So I need not pass any parameters. I'll remove this. And export parameters are always optional, but in this case I'm interested to import. So I'll uncomment this fm underscore name equal to what is the name of that? V underscore f name. Then exceptions. It might raise these two exceptions. Our job is only to handle the exceptions. I'll give a period there. Here I'll add others also is there. No? So better we handle others also. You know how to handle the exception. Yes, size of RC. When one gives a meaningful no underscore form exception raised. Type information message. No underscore function underscore module underscore type what? I 13 unknown exception raised. I'm giving just a meaningful message in case if that exception raised also it will pop up. So what this function model will do? It takes a smart form name as input and returns the associated function model. Means if I execute this program in 800 client, whatever the function model name is in the 800 will return that. If you transport the smart form to the 810 client, quality client, there also will activate them. So when you activate there, what happens again? A different function model name gets generated depending on that client settings. So dynamically we are getting the smart form function. That's all. So I got the smart form function model name if v underscore f name is what? Not initial. If it is not initial, now you call the before I call, does my smart form contains any mandatory parameters? No, no, all are what? Optional. I have not created any parameters. So I don't have any parameters. So just say I cannot use pattern now. I can use pattern if you know the name of the function model. But here, this is the variable which is holding the name of the function model. So I have to simply say manually you have to type it. Call function. What is the variable which is holding that v underscore F name doesn't have any parameters. That's all. And F. Save. Check for the syntax. It is giving an error. What I am doing here? Process of calling the smart form, get the smart form function model dynamically by using which function model? SSF underscore function underscore module underscore name, which takes a smart form name as input and returns associated function model. So at this stage, don't think what is export import. If you think about this, it means that you are not practiced. Already I covered in detail about subroutines, functional, all those things. Import while calling becomes export, export while calling becomes import, right? So what this function model will do, it takes the smart form name as input and returns associated function model. So this is the variable which is going to hold the name of the function model. So what I am doing here, if it is not initial, if that variable is not blank, I'm calling the smart form. So when I execute now, yeah, it is asking for this for the result. Understood? So even if you debug, I put the breakpoint here. When I execute, right? So if you see this v underscore f name, it is blank as of now. It is blank. So when I call this function model, let's say f6. If I say f5, it takes a control to the definition of this function model, which we need not debug. Even if you debug also, we will not understand anything. Don't debug the standard code given by SAP. Okay, how to bypass this? I'll say F6, so that internally it calls this function model, which is taking the smart form name as input, returns associated function model. As after it is initial, as after it is blank. So when I say F6 here, done. So what happened here? See, it is returning the associated function model. What is the value of size of RC here? 0. Understood? Size of RC is 0 means what? My function model is successfully executed. So no exception raised. Yes. If it is not initial, yes, it has got some value now. If it is not blank, I'm calling it function. Understood? This is not the name of the function model. This is the variable which is internally holding the name of the function model. So I'll say F5 or F8. I got the F01. So now onwards, I'll call the smart form like this one. Understood? So what is the problem with the first approach? We are hard coding the smart form function model. So this is working fine. But when you transport this to quality system, understood? When you activate the smart form there, a different function model name gets generated. This function model is available in what? 800 client. When we activate that in quality system, a different function model name will be generated. That's the reason you have to dynamically get that particular function model. So whether we execute in development system, quality system, or production system, dynamically it gets associated function model and executes. This is the overall process. Any questions here? Right. So today we understood how to design the smart farm, how to call the smart farm from your driver program. Right. So tomorrow onwards, we will extend the functionality to how to pass parameters and other things we'll discuss related to the smart farm. Those who are not practiced function models concept, this will be Greek and Latin, you will not understand anything. First you practice it, then only come to this. Okay, so I'm done for today's session. We'll continue tomorrow. Any questions before I log off? Thank you everyone. We'll meet tomorrow.